Hello again. This short video is all about RICS defined assumptions. So what does the RICS mean when they talk about assumptions? Well, the definition is an assumption is made where it is reasonable for the valuer to accept that something is true without the need for specific investigation or verification. Okay, so what does that mean? What that means is that, for example, if you've got a shopping centre with 150 tenants, you may not be given all 150 leases for you to summarise and verify yourself. You might just be given a really detailed lease synopsis or lease overview by the landlord, by your client, and you might reasonably assume that the information you were given is actually correct. And you're allowed to do that as long as you've made sure that that is explained in your terms of engagement and in the report. In other words, you make it clear that if that information wasn't correct, then of course the value may differ. So we are allowed to make those assumptions where appropriate, and it will take a little bit of judgment for you as a young valuer to know what's acceptable and what isn't. Another assumption that's often used, for example, is related to the fact that we don't often have a building survey ready. When you value, or you've been asked to value a building, it's because they want to know your commercial expertise on that building. They know you're not a building surveyor, or if they don't, you need to tell them that you're not a building surveyor. And if they wanted a building survey, well, that's what they would have asked for. Or you would instruct them that if that's what they're looking for, they should go and find somebody else to do it for you. So sometimes you may be given reports that you can review, but often you might just walk around the building, do your normal inspection. If you notice anything that stands out, you're going to note that in your report. That relates to sort of the general building condition, but you tend to assume that there's no structural defects in the building and nothing else of any major significance. Obviously, if there was a problem, then that would impact value. Again, this is something that you discuss in your terms of engagement, potentially, and is then written in your about in your report. Right, so what have we discussed in terms of assumptions? We may not have seen all of the leases. We may just make an assumption that there are no structural defects. Another good example might be availability of services. So what do we mean by services? Okay, it's things like is there enough gas and electricity to power your particular building? You're not a mechanical and electrical engineer. You're not going to actually look into that in any major detail. That said, of course, it is our job as a valuer to carry out all this due diligence that we've been talking about. Due diligence, for example, in relation to environmentals, highways, planning, doing a thorough inspection. Okay, so there are assumptions. And perhaps more interestingly, we need to talk about special assumptions. So that's going to be the next little video.